Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with another review. This time it's a book and it's about Led Zeppelin. This book, The Only Way to Fly, has just been released. It's absolutely huge, literally 350 pages, and it covers Led Zeppelin, the formation, where the musicians basically got to for the build-up to becoming Led Zeppelin, and finishes when Led Zeppelin II is released. Yes, so many of us will think that a Led Zeppelin book of this size must be their entire career. No, this is the beginning. And wow, what a journey it is. Led Zeppelin, The Only Way to Fly. I think I just have to show you inside this book. I think you have to see this. Led Zeppelin, The Only Way is Up by Richard Morton Jack. When I first saw this as being advertised, this is an absolutely enormous and heavy book on Led Zeppelin. Without seeing anything about the story behind it, I just presume it's another book on Led Zeppelin. But this is literally 350 pages that goes up to the release of Led Zepp II and stops. So all of this is basically about the story building up to Led Zeppelin I. And it is done very uniquely, and that's what makes this book so special. Like many people, we've seen Classic Rock magazine and lots of books on Led Zeppelin come out and think, well, how else can you... Is there any other way of telling this story? There's a note here from the author from July 2025, which is literally just a few months ago from where I'm doing this review. And it talks about, the story from the wreckage of the Yardbirds to Jimmy Page bringing Led Zeppelin together. But what this book does, which is so different, is it virtually contains every piece of press that Led Zeppelin received from 1968 to Led Zeppelin II's release. So it makes it an incredibly unique book. There is a foreword from Chris Welsh, which is a superb foreword because this does talk about the whole of Led Zeppelin's career and his relationship with them, being a young reporter going off on tour with them, being trusted by the band. So this does go through every release up to the point where Bonzo sadly passes away and the band call a halt to operations. But then, once we get into the full part of the book, we literally start from the 9th of January 1944, when Jimmy Page is born, and then literally we are going through... You won't be able to see this because I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want you to buy the book. Is that we go through day by day from that point forwards, and you'll start to see more and more press cuttings appear. And most of this you will not have seen before. This has been put together by someone who has, in an alternative life, would be somebody who worked for the FBI or would be an absolutely amazing Sherlock Holmes type detective, because to actually have tracked down all of this stuff, which pulls together the story of Led Zeppelin at this, all the early interviews, the press cuttings, but I'm going to show you some stuff in a minute as I go through this that makes this so different to me. Okay, here we go. You can't see this because it's too far away from the camera, but here, if I so I'll find it. The Swan Yardley is a pub that was just up the road from me, and there's a cutting here from the Birmingham Evening Mail in 1967 that Robert Plant and the Band of Joy were going to play there. There's another one. The top one here is the Wheat Chief. That was about a 5-minute walk from where I lived. I was too young. I was 8, but Robert Plant played the Wheat Chief in Sheldon. That was got amazed me. And there's so much stuff from the Sunday Mercury and all the Birmingham Evening Mail. And so this is bringing together all the kind of satellites that were going to create this band, Led Zeppelin. And I'm flicking through this quickly because I wanted to show that if you buy this book, this is the kind of thing that's just going to keep you busy, going down rabbit holes and understanding things you did not know before. Understanding things you didn't know before, is that the right thing to say? No. Led Zeppelin in the background. Maybe some of this has been released into the wild before, but John Bonham was 21. John Paul Jones, 20. They were in their early 20s. And this amount of fame and adulation was about to arrive on kids of that age. We see Vanilla Fudge mentioned quite a lot. But it just shows just how Led Zeppelin were breaking open and literally forming this new form of music. I know we talk about Sabbath and stuff. Look at this rock and roll archaeology of these early cassettes, 8-track tapes, as Zeppelin start to take flight. The Heavy Sounds of Atlantic, all these great albums, Iron Butterfly, Cream, The Fudge. Absolutely superb stuff. And again, this is all based around that first album. I found it fascinating. And again, where are we? At page 139. There was tons to go, so I'm probably going to speed up or flick through some in a minute, because I don't want to spend too much time. I want to talk to, how this book made me feel, really. But you can see here as I flick through, if you're a fan of this band, I don't know if I've gone past it, but there's a poster of the band about to play the Birmingham Town Hall in 1969. I think that some of the tickets were 5 shilling. And it's this kind of level of detail, the kind of nostalgia. I was actually too young for that. But seeing this and seeing the amount of press that the band were able to get, this is before social media, the way they worked the press. This would be like now somebody sending things out to Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube. But this is all done with pen and ink and typewriter. Incredible stuff. There it is. Town Hall, Birmingham, Friday the 13th, June at 7:30. Tickets from 15 shilling to 5 shilling. I think 5 shilling is about 6p now, isn't it? Of course, the concert in Bath. But most of this stuff I'd not seen before. And when I first started flicking through the book, I thought, well, maybe it's going to go through the whole of the Led Zeppelin II bit as well. But you start to realise that it isn't going to do that, because they've gathered up so much stuff. So all those articles and all those books and Story Led Zeppelin and all those kind of magazines you see in Smith saying, Led Zeppelin overview. I don't think there's been a book with this level of detail focused on this period of the band that brings it to life in a way that even if you'd been there at the time, and I've mentioned I was too young, even if you were there, you would not have realised there was so much material and press coverage of this band that because of the impact they were having around the world. And then we have the notes section, which again is just as detailed, showing where the articles are from, so you can cross-check if you want to know more about it. Absolutely a detective's overview of the Led Zeppelin I story. I might just flick back, references there at the back, the fact that it actually does end. It actually just ends where Led Zeppelin II appears. So Led Zeppelin II has just arrived as the book closes. Absolutely a monumental piece of rock and roll archaeology, of which I don't think there's anything that comes close to this. This really sits at the top of the Led Zeppelin mountain. There really is only one way to fly. And there it is. This is your flying manual. Richard Morton Jack. That's a look inside this book by Richard, who has spent years researching this. Years, and you can tell, can't you, as I took you through that. It's amazing. I will admit that when I saw this coming out, and I hadn't read the blurb, and how many books are there on Led Zeppelin? There's loads. I mean, is there room on the shelves for another book on Led Zeppelin? How many times have Classic Rock Magazine had a picture of the Led Zeppelin covers on their front cover saying, we're going to look at this, and you think, oh, I know it all. I know all of this stuff. You may know the story, but this way of telling the story through every press cutting that ever existed, from each musician coming from each corner of the globe and coming together to tell the story, most of this stuff I've never ever seen before, ever. But it made me realise this is my most played Led Zeppelin album. It's not my favourite. My favourite is Physical Graffiti, but this is the one I play the most. I play it the most because it is the one that I realise that Jimmy Page used the studio as an instrument, the way that, compare with everything else going on, 1969, and seeing all these cuttings, you know what else is happening when you look at the memorabilia and who else is playing and stuff, that what records sounded like, what mono or stereo sounded like. And so when you first heard Led Zeppelin and you heard, the reverb and the guitars at different stages in the stereo screen or sound stage and things slightly audible, the way that Jimmy Page created that, you can understand when the album landed, boom, everything changed. Whatever we think about, that, Black Sabbath invented heavy metal or whatever, and we think of, this rolling back, 12 months or so, this was where it really took off. You could say, Cream, and no. When you start to, because whatever you think, because what this book shows you is around the world, everybody was talking about the first Led Zeppelin album. They were talking about these musicians, these young guys, and how important Jimmy Page was. Of course, as the years roll by, then Robert Plant obviously almost becomes equal and almost becomes the driving force. But here, this is Page, and young Robert Plant, and John Bonham and John Paul Jones, obviously in their studio, their session work and everything, and the way that Robert Plant's coming up from Birmingham and stuff. And again, as a Brummie, there were things in this book that I just found absolutely fascinating. I mean, the detectives behind this, for this is Richard, who managed to find all this stuff, and no wonder it took years. I mean, for me, it's a little point, but I think there'll be points in this book that will do this to you. To find out that I lived in Sheldon, in just outside of Birmingham, about 6 miles away, and I lived where I lived there was a pub, like a motel, motels then, called the Wheat Sheaf, that was like somebody you would have gone for your chicken in a basket kind of thing. And to find out that Robert Plant and the Band of Joy played there in 1967, I think it looks like it was free, and that was about a 10-minute walk from my house. I was only 8, so I couldn't have gone. But Robert Plant played the Wheat Sheaf. It's just, it's that kind of, and the cutting, as you saw, is from the Birmingham Evening Mail. And then they played the Swan Yardley, I think, a week later. And it's all the cuttings from. The other thing that's fascinating, we now get used to bands using social media. We're on Instagram and I'm sharing my stuff, and there's a selfie of me, and now you promote stuff. Robert Plant, when you look at this book and all the cuttings, you realise that Robert Plant used the press like social media. He was writing letters about how much he wanted to charge for people to come in and see bands. He's in the Sunday Mercury, he's in the Birmingham Evening Mail, he's in, he's everywhere. And how much harder it would have been to do that. But that's at the very beginning. But as it moves forward and the album comes out, and the impact it has, and we've got all these interviews from around the world, it's fascinating. There is nothing out there about Led Zeppelin like this, period. Chris Welsh does an introduction, and Chris Welsh's introduction is fantastic. How he first meets Led Zeppelin, how they trusted him, how he went everywhere with them, and his kind of piece in this book does go all the way through Led Zeppelin, right through the entire 70s to the point where John Bonham dies and they decide not to carry on. So that part, so there is an overview of Zeppelin from Chris in this book at the beginning, but after that, and as you flick through it, as you saw when I went through it for you, you think, well, there's no way that surely they're going to be, it's going to move on to Led Zeppelin 2 at some point. But no, there is all that. It shows you. I can't think of I can't think of any other album or band where one album would have generated this much press coverage with everything that was going on. This is like the melting pot of the late 60s, the blues boom, everything, the world, the youth, the festivals, Woods, everything, all of this coming along, that this album created this amount of buzz. It's an amazing accomplishment, this book. And if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, you're going to love this. Everything, the posters, and of course the attention to detail, the photographs, the pictures of the records and all the rare versions, all the interviews. You can see that it's took years to do. I mean, obviously, maybe the internet probably helped track some of it down, but nevertheless, and the fact it goes up to when this album pops out. Does that mean there'll be another one? Who knows if there will be? I mean, it's book's about 60 quid. It's a limited edition, but I think it's worth every penny of that. I think if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, this is an archival thing that you'll just open up and find something new to read. And it tells a story in literally day by day time as Led Zeppelin 1 appeared. And I don't think there's anything else like it. I don't think there's anything else like it for any other band either. But this album created that amount of press because it was just like nothing else. Some of us might think, well, you shook me and, I can't quit you, baby, like blues standards and stuff. But no, it's the way it sounds. To this day, it sounds ahead of its time. It sounds timeless to me. And because I'm listening to it now in 2025, why this book is so special is that this book can take me back to the late 60s, to the Birmingham music scene and all the people that were involved, all those cuttings of things I've never seen before, and all the promo shots for the band and the exuberance of the musicians. I'm holding it up, you've already had a look, but there is so much to read. Is there anything new that can be said about Led Zeppelin? The Only Way to Fly? Yes, there is. It's a meticulous piece of work and it's highly recommended. So with Christmas coming up, everybody, and the time I miss doing this video, if you know anybody who's a Led Zeppelin fan, then the ideal gift has just appeared in front of you. Brilliant stuff. I absolutely enjoyed it. And did it make me play Led Zeppelin 1? Yes. Did Led Zeppelin 1 sound different? It didn't sound different, but I felt it's obviously not, I could say, no, I know what I'm trying to say. It's a special album anyway. There are other albums in my collection that feel special. But when I played it and picked it off the shelf to play it again, I understood what was underneath this record, what was behind this album to the point when it was released. It's not just a chance thing. This book gives you a back history to such a level that it's like sometimes you can buy a box set for a film and it includes everything, all the trailers and all the book and the story and everything. This is as near as you can get to that, and it's just incredible. And the fact that it's taken that long just to get to the release of Led Zeppelin 2, it doesn't go any further. Led Zeppelin 2 comes out, stops. But all the reference and stuff is there, so it's just an encyclopedia for a Zeppelin fan. So, The Only Way to Fly is out now, but be quick. So I'll put the link for you to go straight to the publisher below the description. That will be on the website and also on the YouTube channel as well. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Remember, music is the Healer and the Doctor. Please subscribe, become a patron, get some merch. You can join our Patron group as well, as I just said, and you can join our private communities on Facebook and WhatsApp group as well. And we have our own private pub called the Now Spinning Arms, which meets up twice a month via Zoom. Take care, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.